I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's City Council meeting. I'd like to especially welcome Pastor Harmon, who's here from the Nazarene Church, to bring our invitation.
I know, not.
Let's pray. Lord, we come today now to ask your blessing upon this meeting of the City Council. Lord, we thank you for those that serve so faithfully and diligently. Lord, we pray you bless them. We pray you bless them for the time that they give. And we ask for insight and wisdom as they make decisions. We ask for a good conversation and a sense of unity as they share their thoughts. We pray, Father, you would guide according to your will. We pray that you would be with our city. All of those in the city, the residents, Father, our law enforcement, our emergency personnel, Father, and all those who serve this community that we are able to call home. Pray your blessings upon this meeting, and thank you for all that you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. As you probably noticed, Devin is not here tonight. Our city clerk is attending graduation for her daughter tonight over in Morris. So Joanne, our treasurer, is filling in famously.
Infamously.
Thank you, Joe, for doing that. We'll wait one more minute. I haven't heard anything from Adam, so hopefully he will be here. But it's now 7 o'clock. I'll call the Perry City Council meeting to order. Invite you to join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joanne, if you would take roll call.
Councilman Coffey.
Here.
Mindy Galvady.
Here.
Councilman Mindy Galvady. Councilman Adam Grass. Councilman Larry Lambert.
Here.
Councilman Bob Porter.
Here.
And Councilman Steve Wallace.
Here.
Okay, we're all here except for Councilman Grass.
Now looking for approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I move that the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
It's been moved by Larry and seconded by Mindy to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We'll move on then to the reading and approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I move that we suspend the rules, waive the reading, and approve the minutes from the May 20th, 2021 regular meeting with the change in page 5 of the minutes with the one correction that I think everybody should have on their table.
Specifically, that correction, you want to just read that?
A
Paragraph.
change in wording under the possible adoption of resolution regarding House Bill 4115. Basically, the area that it changed, and whereas the city would be opposed to allow for the expanded sale of hours of alcoholic liquor due to the negative effect the expanded sale hours could have on the health, safety, and well-being of the citizens of the city of Perry. Previously, it said would have on the health and safety, so it was just a word change there to fit the discussion we had at our last meeting.
Do we have a second on Larry's motion?
I have another correction.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mindy has it first.
It says I was here, and it says I wasn't here. And
Oh, which
wasn't
is it?
here was the right one.
Okay, well, let's make that correction.
So-
Under the paragraph where it says present,
Yeah.
we are going to cross off Mindy's name and leave her in the paragraph stating absent. So with that correction as well, do we now have a second on
I'll
that
second.
motion?
I'll second.
Mindy seconds, okay. We have a motion on the floor then for approval as corrected for the minutes of the regular council meeting on May 20th. Although with those corrections, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by nay. Motion passes. We'll move then into the pre-approved reports and presentations, and Larry Lambert is going to announce the winners for,
Okay, I will start with the June period Pride Award winners, Jamie and Jennifer Bunker from 210 East Willow Street. And both Jamie and Jennifer are here this evening. They've done a great job with spiffing up the house that they just moved into last fall. So it's looking very, very nice over on Willow Street. So thank you very much for the effort that you put in and continue to put in. Because last time I was by, I saw another patch of mulch that was yet being added to your landscape. So thank you very much.
if you would stay right here.
Stay
And
right
Mindy's
there.
going to
Thank
take your
you.
picture. The Perry Pride winner will receive a $25 gift certificate from Darling's Hardware and will receive a plaque to be added to the plaque downstairs that's displayed at City Hall as well.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Larry.
We'll see that you get that, and in the downstairs lobby area, there's an addition of your name on the master plaque. Thank you.
Let's give them a hand.
And the honorable mention folks for the month of June were Tim and Teresa DeLue at 519 East 2nd Street, David and Carol Lowry at 216 East 1st Street, and David and Shelley Cleaves at 200 South Washington Street. And as it regards the business, the Put Your Best Face Forward winner for June is Amy's Downtown Diner, Amy Butt Coffee. Of course, that's at 115 South Main Street.
Let's give all those folks a hand as well. Thank you, Larry. Next on our agenda is public comments. Do we have anyone present or anyone virtually who has comment they would like to share?
I have no one virtually.
No one virtually, no one here, so we will move on. Communications, Joanne tells me she doesn't have any communications for tonight, so we can move right on there to department head reports. Chief Box, would you like to go first?
I will certainly go first. Good evening, council, mayor. I really don't have a formal report, other than I would like to introduce our new full-time police officer. Wayne, can you step up? This is Wayne Lutz.
Hi.
He
Sweet everybody.
filled the position that you folks approved several weeks ago, and he's working with Sergeant Monroe for a few weeks during the day until we have everything down that we need to have down for him to be independent on nights and get our night patrol back. He's doing an excellent job. He's meeting and greeting lots of business owners and lots of people, and doing a good job so far. So, you want to speak or tell a little bit about yourself? And the mayor and I know because we were part of the interview committee.
Been a police officer for 11 years. Did the first 5-ish in Saginaw. Worked the last 6 in the city of Corunna, and happy to get a full-time opportunity. So I'm here. I'm from New Lothrop. Still live there. Working in Perry. Liking the town so far. So that's really about it. Got a few calls and took a few reports, and hoping to take a whole lot more. So.
That's great.
Good.
Any questions anyone might have for our?
I met him Saturday, very professional.
Oh, I hope that was
Thank
okay.
you.
Did he take you to jail?
He didn't.
That's too much
How
paperwork.
fast did he get?
That's too much paperwork.
Well, that's welcome. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Like I said, I don't have any other report, but if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer anything you have. Anyone? All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have other department head reports at this time? John?
So the paving project's underway. They're started on First Street, they pulverized that, so they'll be there. I can't give exact days for every single street, but everybody will have access to their homes. And they might be blocked off temporarily, but we have a small town, so it's fairly easy to navigate. If everything works out right, they should be packed up and out of here by June 25th for everything. We're locating buried assets for the USDA RCAP GIS grant that we received. That's a 3-year grant, so if you see a lot of paint on manholes and different things like that, we're locating stuff, and then they're triangulating it with their devices and getting that done. Other than that, there's quite a lot of construction going on in the city of Perry, all over. Houses, fences. KFC's coming along. I don't know how far away, a month maybe. So,
Any questions for John? No? Thank you, John. I do have just a couple of things I'd like to report on. One is that the new treasurer position to replace Joe when she retires and to train from time of hiring until then has been posted. The clerk has posted that in the Argus, posted it on a site that the SEDP has, website. It's on Facebook, it's on the City of Perry's website, it's on the Michigan Municipal League website, and it's on the front door downstairs. This is what it says. The City of Perry is seeking to fill a full-time treasurer position. Education requirements, associate's degree or equivalent in bookkeeping, accounting, business management, or related field. Experience, at least 2 years. Competitive benefits package available to full-time employees after eligibility period. For a complete job description, salary and benefits offered, visit the City of Perry website at www.perry.mi.us. Send letters of interest and resume to City of Perry Mayor, 203 West Polly Street, Perry, Michigan 48872, or submit in person by 4 p.m. June 28th. Any comments or questions about that posting? I think you all got that ahead of time. There's one other announcement that I have, and this is also on our website. This is in regard to water customers who have past due balances. The City of Perry is asking water customers to reach out to discuss past due balances. The city suspended shutoffs for non-payment due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As COVID-19 restrictions begin to ease, beginning July 1st, 2021, the city will once again start the process to shut water off due to non-payment. The city will be setting up utility payment plans for those residents who cannot immediately bring their account current. Residents are encouraged to contact City Hall at 517-625-6155, extension 226, to arrange a payment plan. Payment plan arrangements will only cover balances that are past due as of July 1, 2021. Utility customers must keep future payments current and up to date, while past due balances are paid under the payment plan. If you do have any questions about that, please call City Hall. We'll be glad to talk to you about it or set up your payment plan. Anything else? I don't think we have any other department head reports. Joe, you didn't have any?
Nope,
did
I
you?
don't have
Okay.
anything today. Thank you.
How about committee reports? Do we have any committees that would like to report to council?
I could just, excuse me, just a brief update on the Business Affairs and Technology Committee. I think the last time I spoke, we were going out to solicit direct input from the businesses in the city of Perry, and we have been conducting that between Mindy, Randy, myself, and Sue. We're meeting tomorrow morning to discuss next steps, but I think it's fair to say that there's been generally favorable, though questionable response, questionable by what would we do, what are the objectives, etc. So we may very well be coming back here in the not too distant future with some more concrete action plans for next steps that we need to support as a council. So we're making progress moving forward. Comments, questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports?
The Parks Committee met on Tuesday. I don't have my minutes, so I'm gonna do this from memory.
Okay.
This is a scary part. We're gonna start working towards a bike path using the interurban and some other things. So we're starting research on those. I know I've already talked to consumers, started the process, talking to consumers with the help of John Gimney, about how that works and all those things. So right now we're just, that's the next step. George Dunn is working on, instead of doing a geocache, making it a GPS course, so we don't have to go through all the finite things for geocache. And then is finalizing some compass courses for both Jubilee and Veterans Memorial. So more to come on that.
That's great. Great news. Anybody else? Okay. Let's move on to presentation and approval of the bills.
I move that we approve the bills as presented and that payment be authorized.
Support.
Moved by Larry with a second from Steve to approve the bills as presented, payment be authorized. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Moving into old business, the first item for discussion is 2021 city events. The only event that I'm aware of that's actually scheduled for this year is not truly just a city event or sponsored by this group. It is at the school, and that's homecoming, and it's October 8th. We are, though, as an events committee, Mindy, myself, Dory, as the events coordinator, a representative from the school, the principal, Dave something.
Myron.
Thank you, Dave Myron. Billy Roback from the McQueen House, or Historical Society, I should say. He's the Historical Society. And then Pavlika's her last name, from the library.
Carol?
Carol, thank you. And so far, that's who we have. We may have a few other people joining us from other groups, hopefully from the business association if one is formed, or at the very least a business owner, perhaps from the township. But we're going to be meeting on Monday and just talking about what to do to coordinate events among all of those. And from your committee too, from the Parks and Properties, that was the other one.
I don't bang anybody there.
Okay.
I know Monday's busy, just as busy.
Well, that's okay for Monday, but maybe in the future? Okay. So we're looking for just some guidance from council to give us some direction of what you would like to see happen with events that the city particularly sponsors or is very involved in. As you know, in the past, we've had Perry Fest. I'm thinking, and there's been many comments, that perhaps Perry Fest is past its prime, and that perhaps we need to go to a different type of venue, maybe quarterly events or monthly smaller events or combination thereof. But we'll discuss those things on Monday. But does council have any input they'd like to send with Mindy and I to kind of, give direction to the committee? Anybody?
I've got a couple of thoughts. One would be, I believe, before we get into additional thoughts, I think Kyle, one of the last times we talked about this, you did indicate that the National Night Out would probably be doable this year in the August timeframe.
Yeah, I believe that's still accurate.
Okay, so that's something else, Sue, that we're,
Okay.
although we're not on our own doing it, it would be done in conjunction with the larger community.
Okay.
But in terms of other activities, I would like to see whether or not we could have something in the fall and something around the Christmas holidays, not necessarily in conjunction with Perry Fest, but one of the things that happened in the past, and this kind of ties to one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later, is one year the community did a Stuff the Hummer at Carl's as a food bank promotion.
Yeah.
Something like that could be a great synergy item, at least to consider. And then I know we've done Christmas Fantasy in the past. Prior to that, we did the Light Parade. I'd like to see whether or not we could consider bringing something like that back that's, I think, a relatively low cost, and there again would highlight some activity before the end of this calendar year. Just my thoughts.
Good thoughts. I've written them down. Other thoughts anyone has? Ideas we can take?
Have you ever investigated like a chocolate walk
Chocolate walk.
or
Sounds good.
trick or treating for dogs?
No.
Great one. I know Mason does it, Winston does it, and they've had good response from both of them actually. Trick or treating for dogs is obviously on Halloween.
Yeah.
It's earlier in the day. They go around just to businesses while they're open pretty much. It's like from 3 to 5 or something like that. And then the chocolate walks, Owasso does it, Mason does it, again, early evening, kind of just go around, you get chocolate, get you in the businesses, and basically that's about it. So I haven't been to the one in Owasso. I could probably get a little bit more information on that one because the girls always attended it. And you get hot chocolate and all kinds of good stuff depending on the time of year and everything like
Okay.
that. So easy events.
Trick or treat for dogs is the cutest thing ever.
It is.
It really is.
Quick and easy.
They dress up.
They dress up.
It's so cute.
I know for Halloween, where I used to live in Brandon Township, the village of Ortonville, because everyone would go into the village for begging. So people living in this township would donate money to the city hall, and the people of the residents of the city or the village could go get candy, and then they had enough candy to hand out, so the people in the village weren't expected to dish out hundreds of dollars for candy. Now, I don't know what kind of participation we get from the township. I'm sure we get quite a few. That's something that we could consider some involvement, because we're getting, to help, because they're, on my street alone, now I have 3 new neighbors in the last 8 months, so that's good. But like before the pandemic, the prior Halloween, I think I had 2 people out of the 7 houses on my block that gave out candy. So somehow to get participation, it's just a fun, I don't know if anybody's been by my house, I have fun with it, so. There's different viewpoints of that.
I know we give away a ton at the diner. I mean, and Main Street's just loaded with people.
Right.
And it's awesome. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. So if we can, I know one year, don't know who had it out there exactly, but there was like a photo booth sort of thing with just some hay bales, and you could get your picture taken. Just other little adder things.
Where was that?
It was right across the road north of the Campbell store. So
Oh, right
it was
downtown.
right on that wall.
Okay,
Yeah, they just had it
okay.
outside.
Okay.
Nothing spectacular, but.
Okay. What about any ongoing restrictions? And I know we're going to talk about this later, but another thing is, how does council feel about holding outdoor events, not requiring any type of masking, or indoor events, if we were to have a host, something that was in here, a flea market or a craft sale or something like that, how does the city want to approach that? Do we want to abide by what the OSHA is the health department is requiring at that time? Do you want that to be our guidelines, or do you want separate guidelines for the city? When they're being responsible for people being together inside? What are your thoughts about that?
I would say if we follow OSHA and CDC
Yeah.
guidelines, I think we'd be okay, we, follow the rules. And it's, right now, it's on the honor part of it. If you are vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, and if you're not, please do. Now, that as individual people are doing that or not, I don't know. But, I don't want us going up and saying, let me see your ID.
Right, your vaccination card,
Right.
yeah.
I'm not for that, but,
You're right.
You can't do it anyway. I say you stick to the guidelines as much as you can and just like, kind of like he says, of please help us, but we're not gonna, again, just look at your card or anything like that. So please help us as much as you can.
Okay. We do, typically in the past, Perry Fest has been held in September.
Yes.
Obviously, it's too late to pull a huge thing together like that, but what are your thoughts about future, one big thing for the year or a number of smaller things throughout the year? Could you give me some feedback on that, please?
I think if we did a big event like Perry Fest, we've got to do some stuff to change it up, because it's really dwindled the last few years, and just make some major changes, and major changes to include the downtown business people and people at all the way to the corner. Make sure they're invited to be involved, and instead of just having it in the one location.
Okay. Any others?
I would tend to agree with Mindy, and that would be that I'd like to see something with enough planning that we were doing it yet, even if we did it in August before kids went back to school and things, but promote it enough, get enough engagement, and once again, I'm banking on maybe having a business association
Yeah.
that we could engage the business community more than has happened in the recent past. I think it's still a viable activity to try to pull together, not that it's going to be easy to do, but I think we could still certainly put a mark for Perry on the map, if you will, with a properly orchestrated event.
I think this year you just try and do as many small events as you can. I mean, even if you look into like a small basketball tournament or a car show. I know Williamston does it every Thursday. I don't know if we could affiliate the two together, but most of the time if you're parking over there, you're staying there, so we probably don't want to do it on Thursdays.
What do they do every Thursday?
They do a car show. Just to
Do they really?
People just come and park. I mean, it's no big thing. There's not prizes every night. It's just show up Thursday and walk up and down the streets and go to the bars and restaurants and stores, and just brings people to town. And it was a pretty big thing last year.
What's a basketball tournament?
We used to have like the Gus Macker and the
Oh,
Three-on-three.
3-on-3 tournaments.
3-on-3 of the basketball and the court.
Even if it was something a little smaller than that, I mean, but still, you could put it on with even local kids or whoever, but
They turned the parking lot behind the fire department.
they played it
I
there.
do
Basketball
remember
courts.
that, yeah, I do remember that.
Um,
A lot of people came to that.
Oh, it's huge.
I still would love to see small events throughout the year, just to, create community atmosphere.
For example, the National Night Out in
Yeah,
August,
Yeah,
and then something else.
I would like us to really get going with the homecoming. And the whole town promote this homecoming game and just the the parade and,
One of the things that Superintendent Haven, thank you, brought up when I met with her regarding homecoming was perhaps having a tailgate. What are your thoughts on something like that? She thought the parade happens, they all come up to the school, people would then come up and have their vehicles there in the parking lot and tailgate until time for the game to start.
it's a very popular thing to do. People have a lot of fun doing it. I'd also be in favor of doing the scarecrows again. I know we did it before, but I thought it was just so cute.
The window decorations is a great thing during
Yeah,
homecoming,
yeah.
easy.
And I was thinking maybe some of the clubs at school could help put those scarecrows up and
Oh, that would be
make their own scarecrows. They're easy, just need some old clothes and.
Easy for people who can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the kids,
that's beautiful.
and if the kids,
Photoshop. Very nice, yeah.
so
Yeah.
if the kids could be involved in that way, and especially when you get to vote with camp food for the
Oh.
food bank, you know, vote for your scarecrow. And I don't really know, but I would think that the food bank is going to be welcoming extra help because
Larry's
they've
gonna-
been closed. and-
Larry's going to bring us some information on the food bank later, so he might be able
All
to
right.
answer that. Chief Box, what are your thoughts on tailgate at the high school parking lot on homecoming night? Does that pose any issues that you can think of that might be a problem?
The first thing I would want to know is what team is coming to Perry for homecoming. If it's local, we may attract more people from the other side, the visitors. Once we establish that though, for the most part, from the games that I've been to the last few years, there's plenty of space. The parking lot has space, but also that green knoll right across from the bus garage has plenty of space. And I think as long as the school organizes the tailgaters versus the people that are just parking, I don't see any issue with that at all.
Well, all of those are great ideas. Anybody have anything else I need to make note of?
I agree with everybody, and especially on small events, something like decorated scarecrow for homecoming. The city can afford $100 broken down 3 ways for first, second, and third place based on donation to the food bank or whatever criteria that we would like to establish. I just believe that's a great idea.
I think Perry really stood out when they did that before with the scarecrows.
Have you ever looked into music? Or is there a place to do music? Mason always did music on the square for, I want to say, a month or whatever, the summer months.
Yeah.
Set up, nothing huge, PA speakers, and it can be whoever. I mean, it's not going to be a huge stage show or anything like that, but it can be a small acoustic band, it can be whoever. They played for a couple hours, and usually they had a business in the area sponsor that night. So they'd be over there working, doing, handing out whatever they wanted or anything, or just helping out.
Saw something about that, the city of Owasso's doing that, and a
Yeah.
business will
Hazard does it
sponsor
at the Shell,
the location,
everything.
yeah. Obviously, we don't have a band shell unless the
Right.
Parks and Properties
They don't
comes
there either,
up
they
with
stop right
something.
right on the
That,
front.
that is long-term
Yeah, that's
goal,
long-term.
outdoor amphitheater,
Yeah.
but that's,
But they set up right on the front lawn, right there on the, across from the courthouse. I mean, you could do it anywhere right here. or-
Sure, they
Right-
could
right
set up in
around
the
here would be great.
pavilion.
Yeah.
There's gotta be electricity in the pavilion, right, John? So, yeah, that would be,
You got enough room out there in the lawn for people just brought their own
Yeah.
chairs and
yeah.
couple hour thing, and just gets people doing something.
It could even be, I know you're talking about like popular music band, rock and roll
No,
kind of
it's
stuff,
it's
just
just
anybody?
anybody, I mean, I mean, they're gonna be somebody, they're gonna be.
Could be a group from the
Could be
high
one
school,
guy just playing-
from the band itself, but maybe a
you know,
smaller.
It could be just one guy playing country or blues. I mean, they mixed it up, obviously. There'd be a blues night, there'd be a jazz night, there'd be country, maybe a, rock, whatever you wanna call it. But nothing super crazy.
We could have,
Right.
have music maybe during National Night Out? Is that,
We could, I would worry that it would interfere with the conversation,
Oh,
the
okay.
socializing.
all right, okay. So that, but other things, we could have a ice cream social and music or something.
There's, all the
Okay.
towns do it, I mean, Williamson's got, again, they have their amphitheater and everything like that, but, it'd be a good start.
Yeah, okay.
We already thought about having fireworks on 4th of July, and I know there was always a conjunction with Perry Fest. But since Perry Fest is kind of changing or whatever,
Mhm.
actually have 4th of July fireworks instead of September.
Yeah,
But I don't know, the closest, I think, is Morris does, I think. So
yeah.
maybe we can combine the two, something.
Years ago we did, but we used to have kind of a festival on the 4th of July that the Chamber of Commerce did. Anything else? All good stuff? Thank you very much for all that. We will give you a report. Let's see. Possible approval of library improvements. Do we have our third bid yet?
I do not.
Okay.
I was figuring it was gonna take him several weeks and then,
Okay.
so,
Shall we just, no action taken and keep doing that till you
Um,
get them in, or?
well, I didn't know if we wanted to go based off our sidebar discussion to hold up, get it, look at it, but potentially we're probably gonna have to hold up anyway. I mean,
Okay.
I don't see anybody being able to do it in 2021. Realistically, maybe we get closer to winter, but these guys are just
They're swamped, but
everybody I call, it's,
materials costs are
yeah. So,
way too high.
so
right
I
now.
think it might be in our best interest just to pump the brakes on it. I'll keep it in play some, but, when things kind of slow down, I don't know if they're gonna, but whatever.
Smooth
Things level out with
Yeah,
lumber
Material costs
prices and
come back
material,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, when I get it, I'll share that with you. If we decide we want to do something, we can, obviously. And it'll be, he's bidding the whole thing just like outside and inside, so, or putting in a.
Have you thought about the contractors you've contacted, saying this is a project for 2022, and see what kind of response you get? Because I'm sure,
They told me
If you
they're
say
4 to
this
6
year-
months away.
yeah,
So,
so,
then you run into Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's just gonna be,
well, if we try to plan it, getting bids, they might be more apt to give us bids if, let's
Right.
say, it's for May of '22.
right.
Not of summer of '21.
Right.
You know, and I know we won't know what prices do
Yeah.
then, but at least we can get some people who may be interested
Right.
in giving us bids, because right now they're,
Right.
no, I don't need your work.
I started this, I think, when there was snow on the ground. So
Right.
It's just,
It's crazy.
yeah. Well, we will table this discussion until we hear from John, I guess, is the
Okay.
best way to do it. Does that make sense, Steve? So there we are. The possible adoption of police union contract, we don't have anything to discuss, correct?
No, I believe everything is moving forward, but we don't have any language written up or drawn up by the labor attorney yet.
Okay, so we will do a no action taken at this time. So John, you're back up about gate
Okay.
valve turners.
and so this is what, I got several quotes. This is the lesser one. I apologize for not having it in the packet. So I believe there's something in there in the packet of this descriptive. Valve turners, let's see. So these are water gate valves. We do have some sewer valves that it'll be used on, but a small portion. I've been wanting to do this for quite some time and get on a valve exercising program in hopes that, you know, some of these valves we could make work in the event of problems. Some of them are, we just haven't turned a lot of them, and we turn them by hand. When you do one valve 20 to 30 to 40 times one way, back up, back down, it starts. So one workman's comp claim is going to be more than this. They range from, I mean, valve turners, I can get one for 120,000 down to kind of where we're at here. This is a battery powered one. This is a one-man operation. There's some that cost a little less, but I gotta have two guys because of the size of the wrench and just the way that it operates. So I have money in capital outlay and water that I put in last year for this, and I kind of just waited until the end of the fiscal year to do this. Eagle is also questioning me, wanting to know how many valves a year we turn. We should do, in a 4 or 5 year plan, we should be turning them at least once every 4 or 5 years. So I'm hoping to get, you know, it's just small programs and projects that I got to get rolling, and this will help get
How
us
many
there.
do you turn realistically manually right now?
So last year we did probably, I don't know, maybe 30,
How many valves do we have approximately total?
700.
So we're at less than 1% of,
Yeah, I'm not gonna make it by,
okay.
because it's like filler work. I made a spreadsheet and had Shirley help me make up something so we could do it, record it I think I did a 5-year plan
Okay.
on it. I have to have something, or it's not mandatory yet, but it's coming. You know, if I get ahead of things, then I'm not behind things. And
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at with this.
When they shut up on First Street that night of the fire, he big boy on it, and he had to work for it. And so I can appreciate it, because I looked at your whole other, the specs on it and everything, it's pretty cool deal.
And hopefully it's not enough torque to damage too much stuff. You know, it's adjustable, so,
Basically a cordless impact wrench.
yep, with a torque multiplier on the, and I've seen them for years. I've been seeing them for probably a decade at the trade shows. And at first I just, wow, this isn't good. And it still seems like a viable thing. You know, so that's where I'm at. So Ferguson, the other bid I had was like $57.75. From the company direct, that's the same price. Ferguson, I deal with on a lot of our water main supplies and things like that. So we kind of get a little bit of a discount on stuff. And so that's what you have in front of you. So I'm looking for $5,414.06 for this project. You know, I might have to replace batteries, but I think we probably got a 3 or 4 year life on it's probably a $100 battery, you know. And most of these guys, RCAP has one that's doing our GIS. They use it. They can run about a half a day steady turning. So they're not, it's not the cheap battery packs and units. So
How many batteries, excuse me, how many batteries come with
I
the
think it
unit?
comes with two and a charger.
Any other questions? Joe?
I have a question.
Yeah?
Since I'm gonna have to put this on the depreciation schedule, what is the length of time? You think this machine is gonna last 5 years, 10 years?
Probably 10,
Okay.
unless it falls off the back of the truck and
Okay,
someone
nope,
runs
I
it
just,
over.
I need to know what to spread it out over.
Let's hope that don't happen, you know, if you say it, then maybe it won't.
When we were talking about this going on to the agenda, we weren't really sure of the amount, so you'll notice for a motion regarding this purchase, we have a not to exceed number of 6,000. Do you want the motion to be specific to this number, or can we just do it as it's drawn?
Well, there should be no tax. I might have a shipping with Ferguson
Okay.
to get it. I don't know where US Saws it, I can't remember now. I think it's
So,
in California.
Probably best if we do make the motion to make it as it's written and recommended, and rather than have to come up with a little more. Okay. Any other questions for John?
But this should be the invoice, right?
Yep,
This is-
okay.
So if it doesn't exceed 6,000.
Anybody interested in making a motion on that?
I move that we authorize the purchase of the gate valve turners for an amount not to exceed $6,000.
Second.
We'll let Bob do that one there. So it's been moved by Steve, seconded by Bob. As the motion was indicated, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed with nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now we get to the part where you might need a cup of coffee. We have a first reading of an ordinance amendment number 353. Larry was instrumental in this revision, so he has volunteered to read it.
I may regret it, but just a little bit of background. This ordinance actually saw some changes back a few months ago, where basically the original intent was to take individual dollar figures out of the ordinance and put those in a fee schedule, and it can be updated much more easily than going in and changing the ordinance. We approved that. Once that was done, I had some conversation with Devin, and reading through the ordinance revisions that we approved, there was an awful lot of redundancy and difficult to follow and read, so what you're going to hear is an attempt to take out a lot of the redundancy, and though it may sound like streamlining, it's still fairly lengthy, so.
I would ask that someone make the motion. Larry, you're welcome to make it if you'd like, but what the motion does, just be sure you notice, this is just a motion that places this ordinance on the next agenda for possible adoption. But I need the motion made, someone to second it, and then Larry will read it.
Does he have to read the whole thing then?
Yep, he does.
The first reading?
We don't read it
First
next
reading.
time, we just do the first reading today.
I move that the water and sewer amendment 353 regarding cleanup and clarification updates, and which reads as follows, be placed on the next agenda for possible adoption.
And who will second that? Mindy? Is that you? Okay, Larry.
Okay, City of Perry ordains, the City of Perry zoning ordinance concerning water service and sewer service being sections 1040.06, 1040.07, 1042.12, 1042.125, 1042.13, and 1042.135 are hereby amended, and the following are submitted in their place and stead. 1040.06, charges for water service. Note, schedule of utility rates and charges found on the City of Perry website fee schedule table. A, monthly base charges. All premises shall be subject to a monthly base charge according to the size of the water meter and service connected to the premises in accordance with the current schedule of utility rates and charges. B, commodity charge. In addition to the monthly base charge, all premises connected to the system shall pay a commodity charge for the amount of water used at the rate as established in the city schedule of utility charges. C, connection charge. A connection charge will be charged to each connected to the city water system. This charge shall be the sum of the following. 1, the actual cost of all labor and material and any other expenses required to provide the necessary service up to and including curb box and valve. 2, the actual cost of all labor and material required to provide the necessary metering equipment And 3, an administrative fee of 15% for the service in the city and 30% for service outside the city of both paragraphs 1C1 and 2 hereof. If the connection is constructed and paid for directly by the property owner, the city shall waive the connection charge except for the actual cost incurred by the city of inspecting such connection. All construction shall be in accordance with city specifications. D, benefit charge. In addition to the connection charge, a benefit charge in accordance with the current schedule of utility rates and charges as established by the City Council should be charged for each single-family residential equivalent connecting to the system after the effective date of this section. The single-family residential equivalency shall be determined from the table of unit factors set forth in section 1040.08. Such table shall be set forth and identify the type of premises and all applicable factors to be multiplied by the benefit charge for the single-family residential premises. Such table shall be modified or amended from time to time by resolution of the council. Rules for interpreting the table of unit factors are as follows. 1, the minimum equivalent factor for users shall be 1.0. 2, equivalent units for users not originally contained in such table may be added thereto from time to time by resolution of the council. 3, where multiple businesses exist at one location, the various businesses shall be combined for determining the equivalent units at such location. 1040.07 has been deleted and reserved. 1040.08, table of unit factors, type of premises and residential equivalent are the 2 columns. Barbershops, 0.15 per chair. Bars, 0.05 per seat. Beauty shops, 0.25 per booth. Boarding houses, 0.20 per person. Bowling alleys, not bars or lunch facilities, 0.15 per alley. Car washes, 1.3 per stall. Churches, 0.01 per seat. Convalescent homes, nursing homes, 0.40 per bed. Country clubs, 0.10 per member. Drugstores, 0.20 per employee. Dry cleaners, 1.25 per press. Factories exclusive of industrial waste, 0.15 per person. Grocery stores and supermarkets, 0.30 per employee. Hospitals, 1.1 per bed. Hotels, motels, private baths, 2-person room, 0.20 per bed. Industries, processed waters to be determined at the time of application. Laundry, self-service, 0.50 per washer. Marinas, 0.10 per slip. Mobile homes, 1.0 per unit. Multifamily residences, 1.0 per living unit. Office buildings, 0.10 per employee. Restaurants, 0.10 per seat. Rooming houses, no meals, 0.10 per person. Sanitary trailer and boat dump stations, 2.0 per station. Schools, showers and cafeteria, 0.06 per student. Schools cafeteria, 0.045 per student. Schools showers, 0.05 per student. Schools without showers and cafeteria, 0.03 per student. Service stations, 0.20 per pump. Single-family residence, 1.00 per unit. Snack bars, drive-ins, etc., 0.10 per seat. Stores other than specifically listed, 0.15 per employee. Trailer parks with central bathhouses, 0.35 per trailer. Trailer parks with individual sewer connections, 1.0 per trailer. Travel trailer parks and campgrounds with individual sewer connection, 0.20 per site. Without an individual sewer connection, 0.15 per site. Note, each connection to the public water system shall be assigned a minimum of 1 equivalent user or fractional units above 1.00 are computed, the nearest whole number will be assigned. 1042.12, charges for sewer service. Note, schedule of utility rates and charges found on the City of Perry website per fee schedule table. A, all sewer service users. 1, the rate for a single-family residential premise shall be charged in accordance with the current schedule of utility rates and charges. 2, the rate for any premises other than a single-family residence shall be charged in accordance with the current schedule of utility rates and charges. For each single-family residential equivalency of the premises is determined from the table of unit factors as set forth in section 1040.08. Such table shall be set forth and identify the type of premises and all applicable factors to be multiplied by the rate for the single-family residential premises. Such table shall be modified or amended from time to time by resolution of the council. Rules for interpreting the table of unit factors are as follows. 1, the minimum equivalent factor for users shall be 1.02. Equivalent units for users not originally contained in such table may be added thereto from time to time by resolution of the council. 3, where multiple businesses exist at one location, the various businesses shall be combined for determining the equivalent units at such location. B and C have been deleted and reserved. D, connection charge. A connection charge consisting of all the actual costs of all labor and materials and any other expenses required to provide a sewer stub to the property, plus an administrative fee of 15% for service in the city and 30% for service outside the city shall be charged to each premises connecting to the city sewer system if the city is required to make the connection. Excuse me, if the connection is constructed and paid for directly by the property owner, the city shall waive the connection charge except for actual costs incurred by the city of inspecting such connection. All construction shall be in accordance with the city specifications. E, benefit charge. In addition to the connection charge, a benefit charge in accordance with the current schedule of utility rates and charges as established by the city council shall be charged for each single-family residential premises connecting to the system after the effective date of this section. Excuse me. F, special rates. For other sewer service furnished which is not covered by this section, or for miscellaneous services for which a special rate should be established, such charges will be fixed by the council.
Let me take over for a little while.
Be my guess.
G, payment. All connection charges and benefit charges shall be paid prior to making the connection to the city sewer. H, denial of connection. The city reserves the right to deny connection to city sewer lines for any property. I, adjustment. The above stated charges and rates for usage, connection charges, and benefit charges shall be considered for adjustment at least annually by the city council. The city council shall consider and set any adjustment by resolution. Section 1042.125. Billing for sewer service charges enforcement. A, billing. All bills for service charges shall be rendered to users monthly. Bills shall show the net amount due, and if not paid within 15 days after the date rendered, 10% of the bill shall be added thereto as a penalty for failure to make prompt payment. B, enforcement. Residents. Charges for services provided by the system shall constitute a lien on the property served, and if not paid within 6 months after the same are due, the official or officials in charge of the collection thereof shall, prior to March 1 of each year, certify to the city assessor the facts of such delinquency, whereupon the city assessor shall enter such delinquent charges upon the next general city tax roll as a charge against such premises, and the same shall be collected and the lien thereof enforced in the same manner. As general city taxes against, let me read that. As charged against premises, and the same shall be collected and the lien thereof enforced in the same manner. As general city taxes against such premises are collected and the lien thereafter. As general.
That's a long sentence.
Pardon? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just saying that, once again, I don't mean to butt in, but it's just saying that the charge against the premises will be treated the same and enforced in the same manner as general city taxes against such premises, and the lien enforced in the same manner as delinquent taxes would be.
However, where notice is given that a tenant is responsible for such charges and service as provided in Section 21 of Act 94 of the Public Acts of Michigan, 1933, as amended, or where so determined by the City Council. No further services shall be rendered to such premises until a cash deposit of not less than $75 shall have been made as security for payment of such charges and services. In addition to other remedies provided, the city shall have the right to shut off and discontinue sewer service to any premises for the non-payment of sewer charges when due. If such charges are not paid within 30 days after the date thereof, then service to such premises shall be discontinued, and service so discontinued shall not be restored until all sums then due and owing shall be paid. 1042.13 deleted, 1042.135 deleted. All other provisions of said ordinance not inconsistent with the above amendments remain in full force and effective. These ordinance amendments shall take effect 30 days from date of publication.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thank you, both of you. It has been moved and seconded that the amendment as read be added to the agenda for the next meeting for possible adoption. All those in favor of the ordinance being added to the next agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by nay. Motion passes. Thank you, both of you. That was very good.
I'd like to hear it one more time.
Pardon?
I'd like to hear it one more time.
Would you rewind that, please?
The next item on the agenda, under new business, is possible approval to remove trees at McQueen House property. Billy Roback gave me this some time ago, April 29th to be exact, and I apologize that it got buried on my desk. But bringing it back up at this point, I did talk to John about this, but his thoughts concerning two large pines in front of the house need to be deadwooded, and we have talked about that, have we not, Bob? Okay.
That was recommendation from Dr. Roberts.
Okay. And he recognizes in the estimate that he cannot use spikes on the tree, need a bucket lift to do that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that 3 maple trees need to be deadwooded also. And then removal of a mulberry tree next to the house, because that is, if I understand him correctly, split right down the middle.
I didn't look at it when I was there.
Okay.
Get it real quick.
The ones you don't want, always
You're
remember
right.
that. And then this estimate is full cleanup, includes all full cleanup of all brush and debris. This estimate is from Paul Dunsmore of Dunsmore Tree Service. We have used them before. They've done good work, provided good service. The total for all of that work by him is a $1,700 cost. We did leave him, Paul, a message today when we were going over the agenda to just ask him if he could do this after the 1st of July to get it into the next budget as opposed to trying to get it done in June, which we'd rather not do. So I have left that message. I haven't heard back from him yet. But council, what are your thoughts on approving this work?
My only thought, and this is just, we asked John to get a couple more estimates just to make sure. I don't know, they sound fair, but just to keep in what we always do with everything else before we go forward. Those things need to be done, so I just think that we need to try to see if there's other people out there that can give us an estimate.
I'm just gonna look through here and see if that is part of, no, I don't see. Because he sent me an email regarding this too, and I just wanted to make sure I wasn't overlooking something.
If I remember right, he spoke with this person because we had approved this person to do the original plan to remove the trees.
Oh, yeah, and then we
And that's
decided
why
not to
he-
do that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know Paul, I have no issue with him, I just thought maybe just to keep it in accordance with what we normally do, ask for at least one or two more estimates, that's all it was.
Yeah, I
That's
think-
my only point of bringing that up.
We had other estimates regarding the whole scope of work,
Right,
so from two other people and him. And
okay.
then we had chosen to do the work with him, but then we changed the work.
Change the scope, correct.
So I think he just stuck with him because we had chosen him to do the
Yes.
whole scope. So I mean, if you still want me to have him get other estimates, we can, but I
That's
think
just-
that was
that's
accomplished in the,
Up to council, it's just my thought on it.
yeah. What are your thoughts? Anything?
If he was the most competitive on the total work to be
Yeah.
done,
Right.
I doubt that he's probably gonna be out of line when it comes to a lesser amount of work here, I wouldn't think.
Right. And we have those other estimates, you know, already
Okay.
on file, and those were considered with his overall estimate. He was chosen to do the work. But- Devin did just clarify in the wording of this motion, if someone does make it, that clarifying that the contractor understands that the service provided will be work done for the city of Perry and not work done for the Perry Historical Society, because that's how he wrote his estimate. And that was also part of the message that I left for him, and asking then if he could do the work at this amount in July. So that's the reasons for the wording the way it is in the motion.
Well, we need to change the
Yeah, you
motion.
gotta.
It says removal of 5 trees. It's removal of 1 tree and pruning of 5.
Yeah, and that's, you're correct. So we would need to change removal of
1 tree.
1 tree and pruning one tree and pruning of 5. 3 maples, 2
Yeah,
pines,
3 maples.
and pruning of 5.
Is that the best? Well, I guess they're just taking out that.
Yeah, it has some in there. The Dr. Roberts from MSU that came up and assessed them, he pointed out we should deadwood them.
Well, I was just gonna question that.
Fine prune.
If we're gonna prune any live stuff, is it the time of year to do the pruning, so.
None of those trees have known issues for pruning in the summer.
There you go.
Oaks is what we have to worry about on that.
Gotcha.
But who knows, things change with the wind. We get new diseases and things coming in all the time.
Just to throw into this, John did remind me that the reason we were not having city employees do this deadwooding was because it's near the power lines. And we prefer not to have them working up there.
So how many trees are pruned, 4 or 5?
There is 5 to be pruned,
1 to be
1 to be
One pruned.
removed. Do we have a motion?
I move that the city authorize payment not to exceed $1,700 to Dunsmore Tree Service for the removal of 1 tree and pruning of 5 trees from the Queen House property, contingent upon the contractor understanding that the service provided will be for the city of Perry and services to be provided after July 1st.
I'll second it.
It's been
Second.
motion, Randy seconded. Motion by Bob, second by Randy. As read, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by nay. Motion passes. Now, this next item, there's a lot of information in your packet about it. Something to the tune of that. We don't absolutely have to make this decision tonight. If you would prefer as council to take this home, read it, study it, look other stuff up, whatever you want to do, and we can always do no action taken on this item tonight and put it on the agenda for next time. If though you feel you've had adequate time to review materials and you've heard about it, talked about it, heard all the experts either on the internet or TV or wherever talking about the topic of possibly rescinding local emergency status that we have here in the city, just keep in mind that if we do that, it will impact our ability to have Zoom availability in our council meetings. Because of the, hold on, let me get the word. Oh, gosh.
Open meetings?
Thank you. You're welcome. Because of the Open Meetings Act, we cannot have Zoom involvement in our council meetings except for 2 reasons, and those reasons are cited in here, but it's service in the military. Somebody wants to attend the meeting and they can only come by Zoom because of service in the military, or specific illness for that person. But if we remove our emergency status, fear of COVID is no longer a reason to allow Zoom. So just so you know that. But what it would allow us to do, we've had lots of inquiries about renting this community room. It's difficult at best to rent this room and still use it for our meetings. So if council meetings go back to council chambers, and then this can be rented out, just keep in mind the size of council chambers. If you have any concerns about social distancing, I don't know how well we can accomplish that downstairs. But to try to do council meetings, renting, council meetings, renting, it just wouldn't work very well. We can, if you choose to rescind our local emergency tonight, specify a certain date for that. You'll see the date availability on the motion that was provided. And we can make it July 1st. We could make it August 1st, whatever you're comfortable with. But I asked Devin today, what if the Australian strain of COVID comes pounding down in the United States and all of a sudden our numbers start going up? Well, in that case, we would have to effect a new emergency status and revert back to what we've been doing. So lots of things to think about, because it's like a domino effect. Just because we rescind it, it doesn't mean we can do what we want and not what we don't. Yes, sir.
The other thing we need to consider is right now the Planning Commission has one of its members that only attends by Zoom, and this would also impact Planning Commission activities.
Correct.
So I would like to at least suggest that we may table it and discuss it at our Planning Commission meeting next Monday night and see whether that person would be willing to begin to be represented, in person or not.
Okay. And you can make sure that they do understand that we can't just do council and not them. I mean,
Right,
if
that's
it's,
my point.
if it's
It's-
rescinded, it's
it's-
across the board.
Exactly.
Any other?
It's too bad, because Zoom is an interesting tool.
You can't write it in there a different way of, we can't make our own rules on the Zoom thing?
Not, Open Meeting Act is it's a big deal.
Just because it's.
We could have Zoom presentations. We could, like, when the grant writer couldn't come, he wondered if he could do a grant presentation by Zoom. And we're gonna come to that in just a minute, but we could have a presentation by Zoom. But we couldn't open the meeting by Zoom
Yeah, they had to
unless we
change
have
the
that
rules.
emergency status.
What
As
is-
far as
what are we
mask
gonna
wearing
do
and
for
so on,
people?
that's all addressed in here too. So, I mean, we talked about it last week, and I'll just say again, we are free to not wear a mask if you're vaccinated, and we're gonna trust you to do what's right and fair and safe for everybody in that regard.
What is our attendance been on Zoom?
Our attendance by Zoom has been spotty at best. We didn't have anybody today, we didn't have anybody last time.
I have four,
But was it us four?
but I think it's us.
Yeah.
I'm on the phone, so it's
Yeah.
all
So
right.
so it's
I-
everybody here
I
then?
was, yeah.
Okay. Good.
The first time we had that town hall meeting thing, we did have at least one, I know, that attended by Zoom. Having only been here since December, I don't know for sure how many came before that.
If I were to guess, based on talking to Devin, it's one or two at best. But that was probably at the thick of COVID also, when we weren't even really open. The council was meeting remotely to begin with.
Yes, right. So it was a great tool, and you're right. It is a great tool, but unfortunately, we're restricted by a law that's greater than that. So I hear Larry saying that his suggestion would be to take no action on this item tonight, but move it to the next council meeting, allowing him to talk to at least to the zoning commission.
Planning Commission next Monday.
Planning Commission, I'm sorry. But also, it gives us more time just to review, read up on it, be comfortable with whatever decision you choose to make. Okay, so we will take no action on that item. So I'll call on Kyle. Kyle's going to do this presentation for Devin.
I hope I can answer any questions you might have, but just to preface or to begin, Devin and I started talking about this well over a year ago, before COVID even really, about utilizing the upstairs and how we could better equip people who rent to utilize this space, because this is a unique opportunity that people have in the city to come up here, have a full kitchen, have all the tables and chairs that they could pretty much ever need to set up and host an event indoors. And we got talking about the use of a projector and a screen. And we have a lot of people that rent up here and utilize some level of technology, but they're hauling it in themselves. And if we could do something simple, but also provide that type of media, I think it would be, it'd be utilized, quite honestly. So we had police training up here a couple months ago, and John and his crew put up a screen that the school donated. School has no use for those. They have much better technology than the old retractable screens now. So they donated that to us, but we utilized the projector and the speakers and the cart that the school had to help facilitate this training that we had, because the instructor had a PowerPoint presentation that he needed to use for the training. So that being said, the cart, the projector, and the speakers are still downstairs. School hasn't needed it, they haven't picked it up yet, but we thought, well, when they do, what could we do to model after what they have? And we thought if we keep everything on a cart, keep the speakers on the cart and the projector on the cart, and it's got 3 outlet strip on the side. They can plug everything in, their laptop, the projector, the speakers, and then they just have to run a cord to one of our outlets. They'd be all set up to go with any type of presentation, or if it's a graduation open house, a slideshow that is fairly popular, anything along those lines. It's something we could just pull out of the cart or closet, they could plug it in and be fairly easy to use. So that's kind of where it's evolved at this point to all the discussions that we've had. And she's got some products that she's actually found that is comparable to what was used downstairs, or that we have downstairs that we used up here. And I don't know, I like this space, I like to see it used, I like to see it rented, and I think it would get used if we allowed people to utilize this equipment. So that's really where it came from. As far as any details or questions, I didn't get any of the specs that she got, but I can answer any questions.
Will we rewrite the leasing agreement with a deposit down,
We
you know,
had
damages
briefly
or anything like that?
Talked about that in the 30,000 foot view. I think we could put a deposit on it as long as everything comes back as it was to begin with, then I think we could probably.
I mean, if it's a failure of a lamp or whatever, it's something they didn't damage, I mean.
Correct,
that's
yeah,
what it is.
definitely. No, we did talk about changing the fee schedule for
Yep.
that.
I think you'll get a lot more training rentals and stuff like that up here, of people in that.
When we hosted the training in April, it was through our regional training consortium, which covers Lapeer, Genesee, and Shiawassee counties. And we're kind of on the west edge as far as any of that, those departments go. So it was kind of like, hey, we have another resource or another agency that we can utilize for a hosting site for that training. So I'd like to see that increase as far as our training consortium utilizing other departments, especially here.
I think even if you put a minor fee in there for it, maybe you might not want a projector, and if you do want it, it's an extra $20, or whatever you guys come up with. It'll pay for itself eventually.
That'd be my suggestion. We rent the hall for whatever X dollars, and if you want the electronic equipment for that, it's another whatever.
Yeah, with a deposit.
With
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does council want to take action on this subject tonight, or would you like to hold off for any reason? Do you have any other questions for Kyle, or?
I move that we authorize the clerk to purchase projector speakers and security roll cart for the amount not to exceed $1,000, with the understanding that, as we've discussed, a adjustment to security deposit and rental charges would ensue.
Second.
Okay, I know she can pick that up, but just to remind myself to have her look for the adjustment. It's been moved and seconded as indicated to approve purchase not to exceed $1,000 and adjustments to the rental agreements and charges appropriately for the equipment. All those in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. And just a point of interest, last meeting, someone asked how much it costs to use Zoom. So Devin gave me a bill for that. We can actually use Zoom free, but it's a limited time, like 40 minutes, and then your meeting's done. If you subscribe to it on a regular basis, it's like $15.89 monthly for a program called Standard Pro. Then when you use Zoom, you could Zoom all day. I mean, it's a pretty much unlimited meeting time. So that's to answer, I think maybe it was Steve's question, but just so you have that information.
Say 15, 1.5?
Yep, 15.89. So we do have some things to think about in regard to our next meeting. But again, for tonight, are there any other business items that may come before council at this time?
excuse me, I'd like to provide an update concerning an item I brought up at the end of the last meeting, I believe, concerning the food bank. I had in my contacts with various businesses, just to remind everybody, a discussion with Scott at Carl's Market that there is a food drop spot there, and he asked me why, it had been halted from accepting any food donations. So I had the opportunity to talk to Tammy Richard, who is involved with, kind of heads up the Perry Food Bank activity currently, and she did in fact confirm that due to COVID, they were not accepting any food donations at this point in time, that they would accept monetary donations, turn it into food donations, etc. So with that, I kind of set out to check with some other communities around our area to see what the status was. Were we unique? And just a little spot check that I did, both with visiting website and a couple of phone calls. The Greater Lansing Food Bank apparently had discontinued their acceptance of food donations, but have in fact reinstated that with some hours associated with it. Fenton, over a little bit east of us, does in fact, it has been accepting food donations from individuals. Langsburg, likewise, with their food bank activity that operates out of the Methodist Church there. And then I had a fairly long conversation with the lady down in Fowlerville this morning, and they never stopped accepting food donations and were certainly continuing to accept food donations. They modified their distribution where they used to let people come in like a grocery store to pick things out. They in fact put a package together and deliver curbside for recipients. So the only one that in my limited search that indicated on their website that they weren't accepting food donations was Williamston. I have a call into the lady to confirm whether or not that's old information or not. Unfortunately, I haven't heard back from her yet, but it appears that we're, at least on the surface, somewhat out of step with regard to what our food bank activity is currently doing. The reason I bring it up here is a couple of things that I think the general community views that though we don't regulate the food bank directly, it's associated with us and the city because of the geography of it being located in this building. The fact that they link to the website through our website. When the number that they call for assistance or any information is our City Hall number with just a different extension. So they generally think that we have, though not direct control, associated control over the food bank. So I'm kind of looking for input or feedback in terms of should we consider pursuing some additional discussion with Tammy Richard to try to make her aware of what the other communities are doing and potentially invite her to our next meeting or a future meeting to share, what the food bank is doing. I'm going to go back to the website for a second. Unfortunately, the only place I could find any information about the food bank for Perry was a web page basically posted through our website. I've tried to find anything on Facebook, any place else, and unfortunately the page you link to from our website is quite out of date. I'm not sure if it's ever been updated in terms of who the volunteers or the structure of the food bank currently is for Perry. I actually got Tammy's name from Devon to initiate a contact. So I'll shut up and take any feedback that people would care to share.
I think we should dig into it quickly. Sounds like a lot of other communities, and I imagine there are people that need it. And it might be one of our first quick events of, we're back, let's stuff the hover, whatever you guys want to stuff, we're gonna stuff something. And just, let everybody know we're back. If there is some rule against it that we end up finding out, but it doesn't sound like there is, so.
Yeah, that's why kind of, excuse me, Randy made the contacts to other
Yeah.
food banks, had I found that everybody had stopped it and hadn't started it back up, I'd say, okay, we got an anomaly, hangover from COVID, but that doesn't appear in general to be the case. That wasn't an exhaustive study, but certainly tried to hit some surrounding communities to see what they were doing.
We should at least have a conversation with them, because we don't know their circumstances. They may be very low on volunteers and not able to intake that, so we should at least have a conversation.
Right, and at a minimum, I would think that I'd like to encourage that the website get updated to indicate what their current status is. I think there's some general feeling out there that the food bank is closed up. When I talked to the lady in Fowlerville, I said, do you really have a food bank? I'm hearing that there isn't one, so.
And I had a call last week with that same comment, someone from the Shasberg area who called and said, I heard that the food bank is closed. And I said, well, it's closed, but they're giving out gift certificates to grocery stores so people can get their items themselves. She said, no, I heard that it's absolutely closed, never to reopen. And I said, oh, no, that's not true. So her perception was that it was run by the city. So at the very least, I would like to invite Tammy, Richard, to attend the next council meeting and give us a presentation of where they're at, and if they are needing volunteers, if they're ready to get back on their feet and get their doors open and get activity going, this is at least one avenue that can put that information out to the community. And we can certainly help them get back on their feet by stuff in the Hummer or whatever we need to do. But what do you folks think about that? Do you want me to extend that or Larry, you talked to her, do you want to extend the invitation?
I'd gladly do that on behalf of the council,
Yeah,
if that's
that'd
what
be
our
great.
pleasure is.
Yeah.
And try to have some pre-discussion with her in terms of what our thinking is and kind of share the background of what we have here. So she's got an opportunity to appropriately prepare.
I think that's a good idea. Food banks are necessary. It's, most people don't even want to admit that they have to go visit one, if not all, so.
Yeah. I like the idea of curb service. It's too bad they couldn't have done that during the time when it was so necessary, but that's fine, hopefully. So Larry, will you, on behalf of the council, invite Tammy Richard to attend our next council
will
meeting
do
and
that.
do a
Yeah.
presentation of some type of where the food bank's at, what their
Right.
plans are? We just want to help if we can, kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay. Any other business that might come before council at this time? Council discussions, any observations council wants to share? Any other items for the next agenda other than those that have been signified by no action taken? Yes, ma'am.
Fourth quarter budget comparison?
Okay, we'll put that on the next agenda. Fourth quarter budget comparison. Okay, anything else?
If we have time, I'd like to revisit the discussion that we had briefly when, last meeting, about the idea of whether or not we want to share with the city employees kind of a different look at their compensation package, which might outline, what we spend on healthcare costs for them, et cetera.
Yes. And I talked with Devin about that at length after our last meeting and told her what we were hoping, information we were hoping to get from her. And she said it would take her a while to get that all together, but she's certainly working on that and hopes to have that for us, maybe not at the next meeting, but the first meeting of July.
Yeah, all I meant was,
Yeah.
at this point in time, is to say, is it something we want to pursue doing without, and then talk about what an appropriate timeline might be.
Yeah. But we'll put that on the agenda for discussion.
Thank you.
Anything else? Meeting's adjourned, 8:32.